Hey crew, welcome back to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here with me today. This is episode 1165, an awesome interview. I sit down with Dr. Peggy McColl today. She is New York Times bestselling author. She's written 28 books, manifestation expert, and we go deep into that topic today. She's an entrepreneur. She's a co-founder and CEO of ALIGNA AI Corp, which is a new project she's working on and about to launch soon. So watch that space. A remarkable journey. She's been in the space of personal development for multiple decades, and she's got so much wisdom to share. And today we really talk about how we can shape our beliefs and really become more aligned with the goals and visions we have of our future self, and bringing it into the moment, into now, and letting it flourish within so it comes into reality. So a great conversation, deep, a little bit woo-woo for some of you, I'm sure, but we go into that. The skeptics out there, we answer some of those questions too. So you're going to love this episode, guys. Let me know what you think. As always, the show notes can be found at thehiddenwhy.com, episode 1165, and the links to Dr. Peggy's books and the website as well are all within the show notes there. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Have a great day and enjoy this interview. Cheers. Dr. Peggy, welcome to the Hidden Why podcast. Great to have you here.
Wonderful to be here. Wonderful to be anywhere, frankly.
Wonderful to be alive, right?
Yes.
How
It's
fortunate
like
we
my
are.
son says, how's your day? And I said, well, started out great. I woke up.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, it's a big
positive,
thing, right? And we take it for granted. It's something to be grateful for every day, is to wake up and go, wow, like I've been given this
right?
opportunity, which is pretty short when you look at it.
Absolutely. I was looking at something the other day from Wayne Dyer, and Wayne Dyer was, a wonderful author, speaker,
Mm.
lecturer, and he was a client of mine actually. I helped him with
Wow.
one of his books called Inspiration, Your Ultimate Calling. I helped him launch that book. But I was, reading about how he passed away, and he passed away while he was sleeping, and he was only 75 years young. I mean, and relatively speaking, that's young.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's life's precious, and I don't think we respect it enough. Some people don't. I think when you get a little bit older, you start to realize just how precious it is. Or you could have situations in your life like I did a few years ago, 5 years ago, when I had a lump in my neck,
Mm.
and I went to get that checked out. And after they did the biopsy, I received an email from the hospital with the results that said it's metastatic cancer, and it was stage 4A. And well, I beat it. Obviously, I'm here. It's been 5 years, but that is not necessarily a wake-up call, but it can be a wake-up call for some
Yeah.
people.
I
And
think when you hit your 40s, I mean, for me, that's when I really started to think about life a little bit differently. I think when you're young, you just sort of go and chasing the
right.
big goals and the dreams, and maybe very unaligned, which I want to talk to you about today. But yeah, I don't know. I think when you get older, you start to go, you know what? The time is short, and I want to make the most of it. I want to make sure I do what I want to do in life.
Right. So true. Very,
Now,
very true.
you've been in personal development for a long time. You said you previously worked for 30 years in a company. Talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, I got into personal development when I was very young. It was in 1979, actually.
Yeah,
And
right.
I was
Cool.
dragged to a seminar. It was a Bob Proctor seminar, and I didn't want to go. I had a really bad attitude, and it's like, do I have to go to this thing? And I just wanted to find a spot at the back so I could sneak out at the earliest opportunity. But I ended up going to this event and found myself front row center. And then Bob Proctor came on the stage, and like he woke me up. I mean, he said some things that were, very foreign ideas for me, understandings that I did not have, was not previously programmed. In fact, I was pretty much a suicidal teenager. And so, it was just this moment where something clicked within me. And he quoted Vernon Howard, and he said, "You cannot escape from a prison unless you know you are in one." And I was in a prison of my own making, and I decided to take responsibility and make the change. And obviously, 1979 was almost 50 years ago now. But that's what got me into it. And why I decided to incorporate my own business and get into this industry is because I experienced very, very positive change in my own life. And I had been previously, really struggling emotionally, and I didn't want other people to have to struggle. So I decided
Right.
to incorporate
Wow.
my company. Yeah. And so that's how I got into the business. But it's been there's expressions like if you do what you love, you never feel like you work a day in your life. I mean, that's not quite exactly true. I know I've worked very hard for what I've created, but it sure is fulfilling doing work that is in your area of passion.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to delve into that a lot more because that's important to me. And I think a lot of our listeners love that too. Um,
Yes.
Bob Proctor, back in the days of what tapes and seminars, and you probably had big folders of tape decks that you put into your car and listened to when you were driving around.
Burn through them. Had
Yeah.
to order them again and again because I would just wear them out.
Wow. So, alignment. Let's talk about alignment because I think that's important. And you just sort of touched on a really valuable topic is, yeah, I mean, we work, and if you do something that you love, there's still going to be days where you have your challenges and it's hard and it feels like work. But if you really are aligned, it doesn't seem that way, and life becomes more joyful. You feel a more aliveness, right?
Oh, absolutely true. I think that it's a very simple way to determine if you're aligned or not.
Hmm.
And that is, how do you feel? How do you feel? If someone's talking to me or they're approaching me and they want some help or whatever, and they're feeling like they're struggling or they're panicky or they're worried or they're anxious or they're fearful or any other emotion that doesn't feel good, you're not aligned. So, what would it feel like were you to, have this or do this? And then they'll tell me what that feels like. Could you feel that now? Yes. How is it that they feel that now? With their imagination. So you just activate your imagination, go to that place in your mind, in your consciousness where it's already done, imagining that it's already done and feeling that and embracing that. And when you're there, it's like ding, 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 we have a winner and you're fully aligned. I remember years ago saying I wanted to buy a polygraph machine. The machines that they
Right.
use sometimes,
It's weird.
right? To tell if you're lying or not lying. Because I thought I can hook up my clients and say, okay, so do you feel like this is already done? Like, do you have faith that you've accomplished this? And if they tell me yes and they're lying, obviously
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
graph is going to reflect that they're not telling the truth. But if people want to know if they're aligned or not, it's how do you feel? Now, your result may not be in your life right now, but if you remain aligned, it will absolutely happen. It is guaranteed. It is law. And I know that because it's not that I've tested it, I've actually implemented it many times in my life where I had no idea how I was going to do certain things, but yet, went ahead anyway. And it doesn't mean you're not going to feel the fear.
Yeah.
You're going to feel the fear. It's part of the journey. It's part of the growth. And like when I talk to somebody and I'm working on a goal right now, and if I have any doubt or any, I don't know, sense that it's not going to happen, or I don't know how it's going to happen, or something that just basically I've gone off, off track, then I'll recognize it and go, okay, I see what's going on here, and just put myself right back on track. What would you love, Peggy? Well, I'd love this to happen. Okay, what's that feel like? Feels good. It feels okay, go there. And just immediately you feel the shoulders coming down, right? And you're breathing differently, you're breathing deeper. And so sometimes you have to do that switch like multiple times a day, but the more you do it, the more you condition yourself until it feels natural. It has to
Mm.
feel natural. And natural means like if I asked you a question like, "Are you a man?" and you said yes,
Yeah.
like you don't need to question it or go to the mirror or anything like that. You just know you're a man.
Mm.
And this is when we reach a point of conviction. I love that term. It's a Neville Goddard term, a point of conviction. The point of conviction is when you know it is done. It's like when I decided to become a New York Times bestselling author, I first thought up the idea. Oh, okay. Well, that would be nice. Okay. Well, would you like that. Yes. Okay. What does that feel like now that you are? Okay. That feels good. And then I
Mm.
made the claim to myself, like, okay, I am a New York Times bestselling author. And then I just began to imagine that it was done. It's already done. And within a relatively short period of time, I think it took
Before you
about six
became the New
months.
York Times bestselling author.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was already there in consciousness. So
Right.
you have to already be there in consciousness. I've done this with homes. I bought so many homes where I had no business buying them. In fact, that's one of the stories that I start out with Make a Million Look Small, like how that book even came to be, was because I saw a home that was a million more than the one I was in. And Bob said, it's neither big nor small. Just if you want the house, get the house. You're the only one standing in your way. And I knew that, but probably forgot it. And Bob
Yeah.
reminded me, it's like a slap in the face, if you will, bring you back into consciousness. And so, I mean, that's what I did. Was there fear? Of course. And sometimes it was overwhelming, but I know what it is. I know what fear is. It's destruction. It is non-creative, although it is creative. It'll create what you don't want. But it's certainly not going to support you in accomplishing what you want. So it's
Wow.
really having the awareness and the understanding and then the application that makes the difference.
Okay, let's talk about that. I mean, you've written some phenomenal books. You've got The Moment of Alignment, the precious moment where intention becomes reality.
Yeah.
And look, to a lot of people listening that aren't sort of into this topic, they'll be going, "Oh, that sounds a bit far-fetched. Like, how can you just imagine something into existence?" How do
Yeah.
we how do we find that alignment? Because when you say you just need to be aware and, just vision what you want and how it feels, and it sounds so easy, but is it that
Yeah.
easy? And what are the roadblocks that stop people from doing it? And like you talk about fear.
Yeah, great questions. I would say it's simple, not easy. And it might be easier for one person than it is for another. It depends on their, conditioning. You
Yeah.
see, I was raised in an environment where there was a lot of struggle and there was lack. There wasn't money. And so that's what I was conditioned to believe is that, we lived in poverty. And so did my grandparents. And, it's like I remember hearing many years ago that we inherit beliefs as well.
Mm,
Understandable
mm,
because that's the environment that we're growing up in. We're influenced by our environment. So is it easy for some or easier for some than it is for others? Yes, very likely. I
yeah.
think it becomes easier. It definitely gets easier. I wrote a book with my friend Brian Proctor called Darn Easy. And, really where things become easier is with the practice over and over and over and
Right.
over again. I started personal development in 79. I mean, every day I'm working on it. Even before we got on this interview, I was reading, I'm studying, I get in my car to drive somewhere, I'm listening to my own audios, me talking to me about how wonderful my life is. So, sometimes it's hard, really hard. And it depends also. Like I mentioned, earlier that I got this diagnosis of metastatic cancer. And, at the time, I really had this interesting experience with it. And it was so good in so many ways. And I remember
Mm,
Bob had called me. I'd been to the doctor's office, and this is before they did the biopsy. And the doctor had said to me, assume it's cancer until it's proven otherwise. I mean, he had no bedside manner at all, this guy. And, it was very harsh. And he just said, well, it's probably cancer. And so I came home from that appointment and I was, feeling overwhelmed. And my phone rang. And I look at my phone, it says Bob Proctor. And it's like, how does he know? I mean, him and I were friends. We did a lot of work together as well.
yeah.
So I answered the phone and he said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm actually laying in bed. It was the middle of the afternoon. He said, what are you doing that for? And I started to cry. And he's like, what's going on? And he was not, how a friend might be, oh, are you okay? Like, like this kind of thing. Not Bob. He's
Yeah.
like, what's going on? And I told him, I said, I just came back from the doctor and this is what he said and blah, blah, blah. And he said, where are you right now? I said, I'm in my bedroom. He goes, get to your office right now. I'm going to stay on the phone with you. And it's like, okay. And I came into my office and he said, get a pen, get a paper, write this down right now. Every cell of my body is in harmony with perfect health. And it was a statement that he told me to read over and over again. Now, reading a statement does nothing unless you believe it. right? And
Mm.
so, I knew that I had to really manage my mind through this experience. Yes, it was created and yes, it was in my life, and I understand a little bit more now why it happened. But at the time, I knew I had to really, really manage it. And when I got the medical report, the biopsy, and I was actually stage 4A, which can be pretty scary for people. There's only four stages, and the fourth one is usually bend over and kiss your bum bum goodbye because
Yeah.
it's pretty serious. And I just didn't accept it. It's not that I was ignoring it. I followed my doctor's advice and I went through the treatment.
Mm.
It's just in my mind, I remained and maintained a belief I am healthy. Every fiber of my being is in perfect health. And that
Uh-huh.
was staying and maintaining alignment. But you asked about the ease of it. Was it hard? Yes, it was really hard when I started going through the treatment and I ended up with radiation poisoning and I was hospitalized for 2 straight weeks. And they don't hospitalize you here unless you're, on death's door. I was in really bad shape, like really, really bad shape. And so, but all the while I'm listening to my recordings. I'm listening. Bob made me a custom recording. I made myself a custom recording. I bought extra sets of iPods so I could just swap them out when the battery died, or I had headphones with me. At the hospital, I had the chargers, and so, sometimes we have to grab the tools that, whether it's listening to your podcast, whether it's picking up a book, whether it's talking to somebody who's gonna, walk you through or help you see things a little differently. But we have to be ready to help ourselves.
Yeah.
That's a really important part of growth. Nobody's going to do it for you. No one's going to swoop in and wave a magic wand and say it's going to be okay. We got
Mm.
to do the work. And so it strengthens you. I mean, it really does. I mean, there were so many gifts in the experience. Like, I've had so many people, Lee, reach out to me since that time where they've been receiving or they have received a diagnosis,
Yeah.
which is, and ask for help. And I'll help them. I mean, I'm happy to help them. And, but it's up to them. It's not going to be up to me. That's why Bob Proctor used to say, I can't take credit for people's successes because I'd have to take credit for their failures too. If it is to be, it is up to me. I remember that little 12 word, two character, two letter sentence. If it is to be, it is up to me.
Yeah.
And that's the way we have to live our life. So I believe alignment becomes a choice, or it is a choice, and we must choose to practice it every day. And I think this is, I've never been an alcoholic. I don't understand that completely, but alcoholics take it one day at a time. And I can understand why they do. I think that's a very wise thing to do. Same thing with alignment. Just take it one day at a time. Don't create something that's so big and so impossible that you feel like, I'm never going to get through
Too
this. I'm never,
overwhelming. Yeah.
yeah, too overwhelming. And just like, okay, today I'm going to be in alignment. Today, I'm going to choose to be in alignment as often as I can possibly be in alignment. That's why I use audios, right? Like, I'll wake up in the morning. The first thing I do is meditate, and then I'll listen to my Power Life script and I listen to my audios. And I have three audios on my phone that I listen to over and over and over again. So before my feet hit the ground, I've already put in a couple hours of programming into my mind.
Couple
And
of
if I go,
hours.
yeah, a couple hours. And before I leave the house, like whenever I drive anywhere, I'm listening to my audios always. In fact, I noticed on my credit card statement today that I'm being charged for Sirius satellite, and I said to my husband, I never listen to it. I listen to my audios in the car all the time. And when there's a break or a moment, or my husband's watching some sporting event because he's a sportaholic, I'll, watch a YouTube video, or, read a book or listen to it. So it's really a matter of feeding your consciousness, but that's not enough. You
All
got to
right. So,
be implementing. You got to be
so what?
doing.
Let's unpack that a little bit. So,
Sure.
alignment. I mean, the power of the affirmations, I think I want to delve into because that's a really important topic and I want to learn about that. But before that, we need to know what we want, right? So we can align ourselves. How do we know what we want?
By how you feel. It's a desire. But some people don't even let that in because of their paradigms, right? So you
Right.
have to be willing to, like the sign behind my head, dream big, right? You've
Yeah.
got to be willing to dream big. And quite often, when people think about something that they would love, they'll see something that someone else has. It could
Mm.
be a car, it could be a watch, could be a relationship, it could be, perfect body, it could be something. And
Yeah.
then someone said, oh, I'd love that. But they immediately dismiss it. They're just like, well, I could never have that. I could never have that. That's, it's not for me. That's for other people. And that's
Well, like you
because
said,
they're
when you dream that big too, like it becomes almost, well, that's impossible. That's not real. It becomes almost overwhelming.
Yeah, and there's a battle that will go on. There's
Yeah.
absolutely there's a paradigm war that's going to ensue immediately
Mm.
because you're not programmed, your belief system is not set yet to say, "Oh yes, that's who you are, you deserve that, you're worthy of that." I had a long conversation yesterday with a client of mine who's in a relationship that she's noticing she's having some struggle with. And I could tell by the conversation that what the issue was worthiness. And I know that one very well because I had it too. I never felt loved, as a child. So when I was older, I was seeking it, from some other source, not realizing that it's an internal job, right? It's something we have to love ourselves before we're ever going to receive love, and of course, be a loving being as well.
Yeah.
And I talked to her about, do you believe you're worthy of having a loving relationship, with a very healthy person? And she said, that's it. That's it right there. And, she had the realization. So she's in a relationship, but she will sabotage it if she doesn't build the belief within her that she deserves to have that loving relationship. That's what I did before I attracted my husband, who is he's my greatest manifestation. He asked me one time, out of all the things you've accomplished in your life, what's your greatest accomplishment? The one you feel most proud of or grateful for? And I said, well, that's easy. You. And he's like, really? And I said, yeah, like I didn't believe I was worthy of love. I went from relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship until I had this realization, like an epiphany moment, like, oh my goodness, I don't believe I'm worthy of love. I'm always going to sabotage. And so I recognized that it was there and I decided to work on me. And that's what I did. I built that belief system and I attracted this incredible man. We've been together over 20 years.
Yeah.
And what a blessing, he is in my life. And I believe I only attracted him and kept that relationship because of the work that I did on
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. So how do we go about doing that work for whatever it is that we want to attract,
Yeah.
Obviously recognizing that, you didn't felt like you deserved love is one thing. So having that awareness, but then to go,
Yes.
okay, well, what can I do now to shift that?
Yeah, you have to get clear on what exactly it is you want. And that sometimes takes a little while. It could take 5 minutes, it could take five
Take a
weeks, it
lifetime.
could take a lifetime. Exactly. Like with a home as an example, like, what would I really love? What kind of home? Where? So I think it's, recognizing what the desire is. But while you're getting the clarity around what it is you want, make sure that you push away any of those paradigms, which are the thoughts that pop in your mind going, oh, you could never have that. And like,
Mm.
how are you going to have that? Right. The how you're going to do it is usually one of the ones that pops. You don't have to know how. I honestly believe in all the years, the decades that I've been studying these material, the greatest lesson that I have learned is you do not have to know how. You do not have to know how. You have to decide, what you would love, and then fully embrace the feeling of already having it and
Yep.
do that consistently, and
Hmm.
then you'll attract it. But sometimes it takes a little while to get the clarity. Also, we evolve. Like at this point in your life, or anyone that's listening to this, they may have some clarity around, okay, well, I'd really like to have a new home and I'd like it to be, on the ocean, or I'd like it to be, very spacious and how whatever it is you want. And then you have that, and then after a while it's like, nah, I don't think I want this anymore. I want something else. We change, right? We
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
evolve.
yeah. Like you said
They can,
before, I think sometimes we look out there and go, "Oh, I like what that person's got, the house, the car,
yes.
the career, whatever it might be." and then we realize actually that's not really aligned. That's not really what I want.
Right. Or
But by
yeah,
exploring those options, sometimes takes you on that pathway, right?
right. Yeah, you get more clarity. Like, oh, I've had that. And I've done that. Like, I bought places. I remember one time I bought a place and I got in there and thought, "Nah, I don't really like this. This is nah." So sell it. It's like if you don't like where you're going or where you landed, change your mind, right? Just change your mind, make a new decision. We've been given a great gift, the
Mm,
gift to make a decision, choice.
yeah,
I think it's a wonderful gift. So if I make a decision to do something and it's not working out, I think the best thing to do is, have fun along the way, gather some valuable information, learn something, and then make a new decision. Whereas other people get sort of wound up or uptight about, oh, I made this decision, I need to stay here. No, you don't. But that's based on their belief system as well.
you can change it. So how do we start changing those beliefs that we carry and inputting new data? Like, what are the tools? It sounds like you
Yeah.
listen to a lot of audio and self affirmations and a lot. I mean, is that what we
Yeah.
need to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably over the edge. I mean, I'm really a very serious, disciplined student, as well as a teacher and a writer, etc. But I think you have to ask yourself, like, how bad do you want it? If
Mm,
you want it, then you have to be willing to do the work. But it's not necessarily going to be uncomfortable or not enjoyable. I think it's developing disciplines. And I know that my life really changed when I became more disciplined. And so what I did like way, way back when is I created something called a daily discipline tracking sheet.
right.
And the daily discipline tracking sheet was where I committed that I would, do these things every day, like affirmations, gratitude, meditation, listening to my Power Life script, looking at my goal card, visualization, let's say it might have been 7 things, and that might be too many. And frankly, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Now, that may sound strange, but what matters most is how are you feeling? That's what matters most. So if you did one thing every day that caused you or invited you to put yourself back in alignment, and that one thing was asking yourself a question or declaring some kind of affirmation, great. I just like variety. So that's why I do a lot of things. So I created a daily discipline checklist. And I wrote it out on this little, I did it in a Word document actually, and then I put it on a little card. I had them printed at the Office Depot store. And it basically had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it had the disciplines, and I would check off that I would do them multiple times a day. Another thing that I did was I created a vibrational alignment sheet. And actually, a lot of it is in the moment of alignment. I write about this, the
Yep.
things, they're right here as resources.
Mm,
And so they're right there. So the vibrational alignment sheet was something that I created. Again, I did it in a Word document, and it was hour by hour, the hours that I would be awake during a day. And I would just, write down, here's my primary statement, a goal that I'm working on. And I would just check, am I in alignment this hour? Am I in alignment this hour? Am I in alignment this hour? And I would just check, 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 check on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being perfectly aligned, 1 not being aligned. Where are you? Not so I could criticize myself or judge. It was just for awareness, but also to keep the focus, right? Laser focus. And that's a discipline. My husband, who was in the military for over 30 years, told me one time, he said, "You're the most disciplined person I've ever met." I am disciplined, but I think that's what it takes. I think you need to be disciplined if
yeah.
you want to get, and it depends on the results as well. And it depends on where you are and where you want to be, because where you are, which is not where you want to be, you're already programmed in a certain way. So for you to move over here, sometimes there's a lot of growth that's going to happen, in that experience going from where you are to where you want to be. And so that can be a real, challenging experience, to get out of your own way and to, maintain or, create more consistent alignment. Nobody's going to be aligned every day, all day. Nobody.
Mm,
Everybody's going to have challenges. Doesn't matter who you are, where you are, what you're going for, you're going to have challenges. But if you choose to be more consistently aligned than not, you're absolutely going to manifest it. Now, the other fun part of this whole manifestation process is the timing. How long does it take? However long it takes. Like, I don't know, But think about this. This is something I learned from Deepak Chopra. If you are already aligned, what does it matter? You're already feeling like you have it. And ultimately, what we want from the stuff, whether
Yeah.
it's money, whether it's, is a feeling. That's what we're really striving for, right? You ask people, why do you want more money? Because I'll feel free. Could you feel free right now? Yeah, you can.
Mm,
Could you
mm.
imagine this? What we talked about earlier. Get into your imagination where you can imagine that it's already done. Because when you are aligned with it, it doesn't even matter. You are having the experience now as if it's already done. I remember one time sitting with my husband and I said, wow, the water is really pretty tonight. And he said, what are you talking about? We weren't looking at water. But in my mind, I wanted a waterfront place, right? And he goes, oh, I know what you're doing. You're visualizing. I said, yeah, I'm visualizing that we're sitting here at the lake. We're looking out at the water. The sun's setting over there, and it's magnificent. And I mean, he comes along for the ride now because I think some people might think I'm cuckoo, but but that's what I would do is I would imagine myself right into this scenario, right into
Yeah.
the feeling of this is already done. I'm feeling it now. I'm enjoying the experience right now.
Okay. So I want to buy $1 million house, a $2 million house on the water. Okay? That's what I want. It feels great.
Good.
What
Yep.
do I do around affirmations, around the
Yes.
vibrational alignment sheet you talk about, the
Yes.
disciplines? Like, let's unpack this. Like, how do I start today? Because I know it's going to be hard because I don't believe that I can do that, right?
Right. Right.
And we're just putting this as a
That's
simple example for people. So this is going to be hard. I respect that. I know that I'm going
Yep.
to have to write down some disciplines, and I know I'm not going to be able to follow them daily. But if I just focus on it and try it day after day, I'll get better.
Yep. Yeah. The thing is that a whole bunch of these thoughts are floating into my consciousness right now is you have to be easy on yourself, like easy on yourself. Like you just mentioned that I know it, I don't believe it, don't think it can be done or whatever. And that's okay. Just say, oh, I'm grateful that I have the awareness to notice that that thought, which is based on, a belief, is there because I can change it, right?
Mm,
So anytime any negative thought pops up, because they will, and there will be a lot of them, there'll be conflict, there'll be the battle going on. You just say, oh, I see who you are. Okay, I recognize you, respect you, because that's based on previous programming. That's not what I'm going to choose. But here's what's interesting. You said a million, then you said two. It doesn't matter if it's 10 million, 20 million, 100 million. It's the same effort. There's a quote in Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich, that goes
yeah.
like this. No more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity than is required to accept misery and poverty. What does that really mean? What that means is it's the same effort, the same effort. So whether it's a million or 10 million, it's the same effort. What's the effort? The effort is to act as if you already have it in your life, that you're already living in the home. Like it's a memory. It's a
Yeah.
memory. There's a chapter in Make a Million Look Small about that as well. And of course, I've talked earlier about it feels natural. So if that's the outcome, then decide it is yours. And I would write it out as an affirmation. I'm so happy and grateful now that I live in my beautiful multi-million dollar home that I own outright. I would add that part because it's important. I've seen people manifest stuff in their life and end up with huge debt, and then they're feeling very overwhelmed at that point. So if owning the home is something that you would love, even though you have no idea how, no means right now in your life to manifest it,
Mm.
just see it as done. Feel it as if it's done. So that's the first part. You got to,
Okay. So we're
okay,
going to
I'm going to
feel it as
accept that.
it's done, and we're going to write an affirmation about it.
Right. And then the disciplines would be, things that I like to do are I created this process many years ago. I call it the Power Life script. I'll write a script about it. And the script would be something like, I wake up in the morning and I turn my head and I look out and I see the waves of the ocean, coming against or hitting against the shore. And it's just such a serene image and it feels so peaceful and I love it. And then I get up and I go into the kitchen where, I'll make the coffee and I can smell the fresh coffee brewing and I'll go stand at the window and I'll look out at our dock, and in my case, it might be that our boat is parked at the dock and I just smile knowing that later today we're going to go for a boat ride and later in the evening I'll go and sit in the outdoor patio area that's covered that has the outdoor fireplace and I just flip a switch and on comes the fire and I sit there, with my husband and I look out at the water again, see the sailboats, heading back in because the sun is about to set. And so it's like you're creating a scene that's
Yeah.
so vivid and so real to your imagination. So I'm a very auditory person, like I hear it. Some people will use visuals, whether it's they'll create a image of something that they can look at every single day, or whether it's a video or something that stimulates the emotional response.
Hmm.
That's what you're looking for as far as the tools that you're going to use that are going to stimulate a response within you internally, emotionally.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'll do sometimes. Like when I decided to become a New York Times best-selling author, I took my book, which was a Hay House publication, and I put a New York Times bestseller emblem on it. I framed it and put it right on my desk. I saw it every day. And then I made 7 photocopies so I could put one beside the bed, one in the family room, one in the living room, one in the kitchen, one in the, in the bathroom. So I put copies everywhere because we take in information through our senses, includes our sight, right?
Yeah.
What we see, we're going to see it. And so what happens is you're taking in this information without you even realizing it. But I would take my phone as an example or a stopwatch and I would just dedicate some time, like let's say 5 minutes. Doesn't seem like a lot of time, but this would be one of the disciplines where I'm going to put my clock on, my timer on, and I'm going to visualize for 5 minutes. I am there. I'm absolutely there. I would do things like go for a walk in the neighborhood and imagine that I'm living there or drive there, right? So the more that you can anchor in the visuals, the things that you see with your senses, hear, smell, taste, touch, the better it's going to be anchored within your system. And at first is the most awkward time because you're, not necessarily doing this. I have an accountability partner that I've been working with for well over 20 years. And so sometimes having an accountability partner is a good thing to do too. You can let them know this is what I'm focusing on. These are the disciplines that I'm, choosing to implement and I'm sticking to it and I'm going to report into you, whether it's daily, midweek, end of the
Yeah.
week. I've been doing that with my accountability partner for decades. And it's fun because we keep each other accountable, never judgmental, just always accountable. So for the $2 million home or $10 million home, you make the decision, you create some tools that have you experiencing and embracing the outcome as if it's already done. Write them on a daily discipline checklist and just, each day, check off. You'll probably have, days where you didn't do it,
Yeah.
right? Or you didn't do them all. Let it go. You can't change that. Let it go. Brand new day, brand new moment, brand new opportunity to get aligned, get better at it tomorrow, right? This
Mm.
is what people do with diets, with exercise, right? I'm committed to doing it. I'm going to do this every day. And it's the same kind of idea, the
Mm.
same way of thinking. And then, just choose to stick with it. And then recognize that you're gonna come up against like bam, you're gonna feel like you're hitting walls. You're gonna feel like you're being pulled back. Sometimes you might even feel like you're going backward. But that's okay. It's just part of the process because that battle's going to go on, like the royal battle. There's a whole section in Neville Goddard's book, The Power of Awareness, where he talks about the battle that's going to occur, and he says that the moment you make a decision to do something you've never done before, you will experience, the pull. Right? He doesn't say it this way, but that's what he's saying. You're going to experience the pullback. You're going to experience the paradigms
Yeah.
battling the old beliefs, right? And he said, they will fight you. And then he says this, and they will continue to fight you. And I think that's the part that a lot of people don't understand. Like, wait a minute, this should get easier. Uh-uh. Does not unless and until you've changed the programming within, right? The
Mm.
conditioning, which is the belief system. But once you do, it's like, oh yeah, this is done. Like when I decided to buy that waterfront place years ago,
Yeah.
it was done. And I remember even my husband was like, where's the money going to come from? Wherever it is now. I remember one time he and I were in Florida. We're down there on a little vacation, and we're walking along, this road where we had rented this house, and I stopped. And he's like, "What are you doing?" We're holding hands. So obviously I stopped, he stopped. He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, this house is for sale." It was backing onto a golf course. And he said, "So?" And I said, "Well, wouldn't you like to have a house in Florida?" "I don't know." He's like, "I had never thought about it. And where's the money going to come from?" I said, "I'm going to call the real estate agent and see the house." "What for?" I mean, we weren't even married at the time. I mean, he
Mm.
thought I was crazy. And I called a real estate agent and went to see the house. And I went back that evening to have a
Yeah.
second visit. I said, "I'm going to make an offer." And I bought that house. I bought it on my own. And I closed 60 days later and I paid cash. I paid cash. I did not have the cash when I bought that home. I had no idea how I was going to pay for that home. I did not put conditions on the deal. Now, I'm not saying to people, go out and do it. I knew enough about myself because I had done it before. And like even in the story that I tell in Make a Million Look Small in the beginning, actually that wasn't the original house, but many years ago when I went through a divorce with my first husband and my son was just a toddler, I decided I'm going to buy a house. Didn't have the money. Our house, the matrimonial home, wasn't selling. We kept dropping the price. The market was terrible at the time. And it's like, I'm not going to buy into all of these reasons why it's not going to happen. In my mind, it was done. I owned a home. I was living in the home with my son. I love my home. And so I would just act as if and go and look. I ended up buying a home and I bought it with a cash advance on my Visa. And I ended up making the money 4 days before the closing through a stock transaction. And so I'm not telling people go out and, risk everything and make,
Yeah.
foolish decisions. I'm not saying that at all. I believed that I would do it. I believed enough at that point. I think at that point I've been studying personal development about 15 or 16 years. So I believed that I would, find a way. I just really felt that very strongly that there would be a way that I would manifest this home into being my own, and that's what I did. I mean, it was a battle, of course. It was something that's actually when I developed my daily discipline checklist, and that's when I decided to become very seriously committed to this outcome, and it worked. Now, the big benefit. Are
I've
you
just
still
lost
there?
my video. I am still here.
Oh,
Keep
okay, good,
going.
good. Okay, the biggest benefit is not that you get the house. The big benefit is who you become in the process. That's the big benefit because what's changing is you. And what you're doing is you're creating a new belief system that is far more supportive of what it is that you desire. And so, at the time when we're up against these experiences, they might
Yeah.
not feel like a growth experience. Like when I went through the diagnosis of cancer, and that may not have felt like a blessing at the time, but I did know that it would bring out a greater and grander version of who I am. I
Mm.
knew there would be growth
So it's the
involved.
growth. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the growth. There's blessings in everything.
Yeah. So when you do your recording of your affirmation, you've got your what do you call it, power play script?
Yeah, excuse me,
Power,
power life script. Yeah.
power life script. So you've written that down as well. That might be what, half page, paragraph, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have them, sometimes they were 18 pages. Like they were
Wow.
probably too much, too much.
So
Now they're,
would you then record that affirmation and the power life script? Obviously have it written down
yes,
in places as well, and then your discipline was listening to that
yeah, over and
constantly
over again.
throughout the day.
Yeah,
Reading it constantly
absolutely.
throughout the day.
I'm more a listener. I'm an auditory person.
Okay, so
I don't
either or is fine.
Yeah, either or. It doesn't matter. This is what I said earlier. It doesn't matter what you're doing. How are you feeling? If reading it causes you to feel more connected, more aligned with the outcome, then read it. If listening to it causes you to feel more aligned with the outcome, then listen to it. I'm more auditory.
Yeah. And
I
then
hear
visual
things.
as well. So have the visual of it. And we're talking about
Yeah.
this multi-million dollar place on the waterfront that I own.
Yes.
Having the visual of it, listening to it throughout the day, making sure you're
Yes.
following, checking off those disciplines,
Yeah.
because not
Yeah.
worrying about the how, but really just trying to
Never
set
bring
the
about the
conscious
how.
mind about how you feel.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. 100%.
To,
And and
to the,
I would also invite in some playfulness, right? Like
mm,
allow it to be fun. Have fun with it. Like I remember Jerry and Esther Hicks used to travel around North America in a Winnebago, like a Airstream vehicle. What do you call those? Like a mobile home kind of thing. And on the back of their Winnebago, it says something like "Life is meant to be fun." And I really like that because it's true. I mean, life is meant to be fun. Most people aren't having a lot of fun, but have fun with it. Have fun with the whole
yeah.
process. It's like when we were kids. We used to play, right? Play games, play imagination. Like girls used to, play house or whatever. And like as adults, we lost that. We lost
Some of the
that,
best movies that I love watching are those kid movies like The Faraway Tree or Narnia, where these children just create these whole worlds. And we
right?
do lose that. Like, and I still watch those movies and go, oh, geez, I would just get so gooey, watching them. Because I just love that
Exactly.
idea of play and visualizing that sort of thing. And I don't do enough of it in my life. Hence why I'm asking you so many questions about how you do this. Because to the skeptic out there, and you talked about this, you don't want anyone to go out there and suddenly go, okay, I'm going to buy this $10 million waterfront property without cash. Like the skeptic will
Right.
be going, well, that's nice. And I love that idea, but how am I going to actually, and this is the how question that you brought up before. How am I
Don't
going to
have to,
actually afford that? Like, I don't have $10 million. I don't
yeah,
envision $10 million to come into me in the next 6 months to allow me to pay that.
right.
So, to the skeptic, what do you say to that?
Yeah, well, not everybody's going to believe it. They have to have an opening, for belief. Like I'm married to a skeptic, which is kind of fun. And some of my clients think it's just
He must love it.
hilarious, that we're very, very different. Denny, his name is Denny. Denny is very analytical, left brain, logical thinker. And so, when I get one of my wild ideas in my mind of something we're going to do, it's like, oh God, here she goes again. And now fortunately, I think he believes in me. Not think, I know he believes in me. So he comes along for the ride, but he's experiencing discomfort as well. Like I remember one time, yeah, we were renting a place on a lake, and I was looking to buy.
Yep.
And he went out fishing one day, and I walked down to the point. There was a point on this lake. It was a beautiful piece of land, and the cottage that was on it was just a dump. I mean, it really should have met up with a bulldozer. And I walked down and I spoke to the owner because there was a for sale by owner sign on the property. And I went down and met up with the owner, and I loved the land. I mean, it was one of those like, oh yeah, I gotta have this. And so I made him an offer, and we ended up negotiating right there, and we reached an agreement and shook hands. And Denny came in from fishing, and I said, I bought the point. I bought the place on the point. He's like, you did what? I said, yeah. But in my mind, I had this full imaginary experience that he was going to thank me. And so what I did was I visualized that the two of us were sitting on the deck and that we're watching the sun go down, and that he turned to me and he said, "Thank you." And I said, "Thank you for what?" And he said, "Thank you for buying this place. I love it here." And so I created this whole scene in my mind. And we ended up renovating the place. We didn't bulldoze it, but we brought in contractors and we built an extra guest cabin and we totally renovated it, like gutted
Yep.
it and
Yep.
renovated it. and it was beautiful, and it was such a magnificent piece of land. And one evening we're sitting on the deck and the sun was setting and it was just beautiful. And we're looking out at the lake. And he turned to me and he said, "Thank you." And I said, "Thank you for what?" I had forgotten about the scene. And he said, "Thank you for buying this place." And it's like, oh my goodness, I visualized this. I've been here before. And so, that was part of, the
Powerful.
play,
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
that I was having.
So in your newest book, Make a Million Look Small, and I don't want to assume, but I haven't read the book yet. We're talking about a lot of these things about how to shift that mindset, right?
Yes, absolutely. You should read it. It's a great book. I
Well,
was reading it. Oh, I knew we were going to be chatting about it today, and I was sitting outside earlier. It's a gorgeous day, and I was reading some of it. And I mean, I love it. I remember one time being in Dallas, Texas, and I was doing a seminar with Bob Proctor. It was The Science of Getting Rich, based on Wallace D. Wattles' book. And we were on our way down to the ballroom, and it was a long walk from the lobby to where the ballroom was. And, Bob was walking really fast, and I'm in high heels. And I said, "Bob, what's the hurry?" And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I was walking so fast." He said, "I'm just excited about the seminar." I said, "It's your seminar." He goes, "I know, but I get to hear it because as it comes out of here, it goes in here." And that's one of the things I've loved about doing speaking or lectures or programs or writing books is that it reinforces the information again. That's why I love doing interviews or talking to people about this because it's just another reinforcement of the information, which is so
mm,
valuable.
true, very true. So in your book, what would you really love to discuss from that book that I've potentially missed already?
One of the things that I have found in my life is finding people that have accomplished things, whether it's the same or similar or overcome obstacles,
Yeah,
because we can learn from other people's experiences. So in Make a Million Look Small, what I did was in the beginning, I created a story, and it was a story about a woman, and it was really based on my own experience on a woman who decided that she wanted to purchase a beautiful waterfront home.
yeah,
Interestingly enough, that we're talking about that. And so I talk about, in the beginning, I open it up and I say, this is how the book has been designed. And then I get into the whole story and then I sort of dissect it. What did she do? What was her approach? What are the things that need to be done in order to accomplish a similar outcome or another outcome? And so I find that we remember better with stories. We quite
absolutely.
often get like, I love documentaries. I love watching documentaries about people. I recently watched one about Steven Spielberg. I mean, he's a very well-known director. He's done some many Academy Award winning director. He's done many films that, are very well recognized. E.T.,
Mm,
as an example.
yeah,
And not that I'm looking to direct any movies or anything, but I love, it's like Tony Robbins used to say, success leaves clues. So you find the people that have created success and you learn from them.
yeah,
And I think that's the best thing to do. So there's a really great story. That's the way Make a Million Look Small. The book was designed. It's unique in its nature, but nonetheless, I feel it's very impactful because of the story aspect of it, and then the seeking to understand what really goes on, like how. Because I know myself when I got into the study of personal development, I'd be sitting in a room and I'd be hearing the speaker or lecturer talk about you have to have faith, faith in the unseen, and I would sit there going, okay, I get that, but how do you have faith when you have no earthly idea how you're ever going to accomplish it,
mm,
right? And because I was always about, I want to know how to implement, how to implement. It's not enough to study the material. It's not enough to know what you have to do. You got to be doing it. You've got
mm,
to be implementing it. So I was always that person, and I'm a real doer, action taker. So I was always looking for the way. And that's what's really important for anyone to understand. You
yeah,
gotta move into action. You gotta, and I wrote about that in The World Doesn't Need Another Self-Help Book. We don't need to study more stuff, or learn from another video or take another course. Implement what you already know. Be willing to make mistakes because you will,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah,
be willing to have the discomfort because you'll have it. You're definitely going to have the discomfort. It's
yeah.
part of it.
You got to go out there and take action. You can't just sit back
Yeah,
and listen to all your affirmations, although that might make you feel good, which is good. You still got to make
sure.
action, right?
Absolutely.
I love it. You got multiple books out there, guys. We'll put them all in the show notes. The ones we've discussed today. There's more. How many books you've written now?
28.
Jesus,
Yeah, I'm working
28.
on another one. But I'm going to probably do the other one next year because I said to myself, I'm giving myself a year off writing. And of course, I'm building a new company.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah. We didn't even touch on that. That looks like a pretty cool project.
It's really cool. It's so cool. It's going to revolutionize, I think, the self-help industry. It's called the ALIGNA, and what we're building is called the ALIGNA Suite, and it is a tool for people to get aligned and stay aligned using AI. It's absolutely brilliant. I'm so grateful. It brings tears to my eyes that we're doing this, and I know it's going to be life-changing, life-saving in some cases. It's at alignatech.ai is where people can see a little bit more about it. We're getting ready we've been in development now for several months. We're going to release at the end of the summer, our
Okay.
summer, not yours,
Yep.
at the end of your winter.
So a few
And
months, couple of months time.
yes, so in a few months it's going to be out and available, and it's like a monthly subscription, not crazy expensive, so valuable. So that's one of the things that we're doing at Aligna
That's
is
exciting. See, so this is growth. I mean, you're talking to someone that started seminars with tapes back in late 70s, and now you're into AI and helping people on mass scale. That's awesome.
yeah, I mean, I love technology. Like I'm 67 years of age. I'll be 68 this year, and I have no intention of retiring anytime soon. And I've always loved technology because of what it can do for people and how it can
Mm.
help people. And so like I got online in 1995 when the World Wide Web first opened up, and started selling online in like 2001, I believe it was. Before anyone was selling online, I actually hired a guy to program a shopping cart for me. I just love what's available. I've been using AI since it first came out on the market in 2023. And so this idea came to me, and I approached my business partner, and we began discussing it. He wasn't a business partner at the time; he was just someone that I had known.
Mm.
And I said, we should build this and bring it out to the world. And I knew he could do it because he's an architect and a designer, and he's got
Yeah.
a brilliant mind. And so that's how Aligna came to be. So we both were running businesses for over 30 years, very successful. We both, burned the boats, cut the cord, whatever you want to call it. And we incorporated a new company and off we went.
Off you go. So tell me, it sounds like I mean, you've always got multiple things going on in your life. Is it okay to give yourself permission to have multiple visions about how you want to feel, like the house and the Aligna AI tech that you've created? Like, do you have multiple things happening at once that you're putting into
Yes,
your consciousness?
yes, yes, yes,
Mm.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
No limit. If somebody thinks there's a limit, it's probably because they've been programmed that way to think there's a limit. There's no limit to what we can
Yeah.
create. Like, and if you heard my Power Life script, you'll hear a lot of things. Obviously I maintain perfect health because that's really important. I've been clear, for years and years. There's nothing, in my body. I'm in a healthy body. So that's in there. I'm happily married, even though I am happily married. That's important to me. So that's in there. Our properties, and our business, my business, and where we travel and how we travel. Like it's all in there. Like life is, usually all encompassing.
Yeah.
There's things like career. Some people career might be more important. In fact, my husband retired, I think 20 years ago, and he plays golf and hockey and does his thing. So he has different goals for himself of what he's into. And so yeah, absolutely can have as many goals as you want. There's no
I love
limit.
it. Love it, Peggy. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure.
PeggyMcColl.com. Is that pronounced right?
Yes, that is my main website. Although I've been winding things down there because
All right.
everything's been over. I'm full-time into Aligna now, and in fact, I was on my site today, and I was thinking I'm going to ask my web designer just pull the plug on it because I am all in with Aligna. I mean, I
Yeah.
have books out there in the world, and I still do talks every once in a while. But I'm so committed to what we're doing with Aligna, and it's just going to be massive.
It pretty
And
much goes straight there anyway. So if you go to your website, peggymccall.com,
that's
explore
true.
Aligna, that'll take you to alignatech.ai.
Yes.
So that's all there. So anyway, put it in the show notes, plus the books. Dr. Peggy, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Really appreciate the conversation.
I appreciate you, Lee. Thank you so much for having me.
Guys, check it all out at thehiddenwhy.com. Until next time, peace, passion, and purpose. See you soon. Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in this week to this interview. I hope you enjoyed the conversation we had. Make sure you check it out at thehiddenwhy.com for the show notes and links to our guest. And if you have any comments, any suggestions for the show, please make sure you reach out as well. Also, would like to just ask a favor. If you do like what you're listening to, if you love what you're hearing, make sure you subscribe. Whether you're listening to this on iTunes, wherever it might be, subscribe to the podcast so you can stay up to date with all the latest episodes and some exciting changes happening this year at The Hidden Why, including the launch of our new website, which will be updated very soon. So watch this space for that, guys. And once again, live more fully, have more meaning, find more joy. We'll see you around the next interview.